edition of the Reimagine series. My name is Gemma Spence and I'm the Global VP of Commerce Transformation at VMLY&R Commerce. I'm delighted to introduce my friend and partner in crime, Leanne Carden. Leanne is the Global Head of Online at No7 Beauty Brands, and she's here today to share her wealth of experience and knowledge about how brands can navigate the choppy waters and setting up and scaling direct to consumer. Welcome, Leanne.
Hi, Gemma. Good to be here.
So a little bit about Leanne's background. So Leanne is responsible for growing No7's direct to consumer websites globally. She has previously held the position of head of No7 brands for the UK market, where she pioneered a data-led approach to mass personalization. And this led her to winning a pioneering award within WBA for Change Champion in 2020. How lucky are we to have you here today sharing your wealth of knowledge and discussing D2C? We all know that D2C is such a hot topic and it's a huge area of growth for many brands, but it's often, highly contested and seen as an area where there's some cannibalization. So we're hoping today that Leanne can dispel many of these myths and share and serve up some of her top tips to clear up this commerce conundrum. Leanne, why is D2C such a key growth channel within No7 Beauty Brands? And how have you seen audiences shift and how are they interacting with your brands within D2C?
Sure. Yes, D2C is a real key growth channel for us. It allows us in the No7 Beauty company to get really close to our consumers. We can interact directly with our customers and consumers. We strengthen relationships with them. And our DC gives us a better understanding of who's buying our products and why. And knowing our customers is really, really important. Obviously, it allows us to personalize their experience in a way that shows them that we really know who they are and what they want from us. And that therefore yields benefits in terms of growth opportunities for our business. And then your second point around how have audiences changed, we've definitely seen audience shifts. Everyone has, we as individuals have changed our consumer and the way we shop brands or retailers. And we see that no different as an organisation and a business ourselves. During COVID, we obviously saw a huge increase in customers researching online and shopping as a result of the pandemic and the stores shut. But conversely, we've seen this year particularly, a bit of a roundabout turn in that commerce has been incredibly challenging because customers and consumers are wanting to get back in on the high street and experience the thing that they've obviously missed out for such a long time. So actually commerce is really challenging in this year because driving traffic and acquiring customers is becoming, one, expensive, but also two, incredibly hard at the minute.
Right. And I think that, you touched a little bit on some of the perceived challenges. And I think that that is something that we hear across the board, that, many brands and businesses have these kind of perceived challenges around D2C and, that it can, in many cases, cannibalize existing businesses. So I suppose my question is, how are you differentiating your value proposition to make sure that D2C is a distinctive channel in its own right, but also seem to be profitable across your markets?
I think this is a really, really fair challenge, and one that is a conundrum for most brands, I suspect, that operate in retailers as well. I manage both the Liz Earle and No7 DTCs, and being really crystal clear, I think, on the reason for your existence of the direct-to-consumer sites is absolutely the first thing that we have to do. It has to really symbiotically coexist alongside your retail partners so that it drives incrementality for your brand. So for me, the biggest thing is around having a really clear strategic proposition for your D2C, having a clear data strategy that drives your own first-party data acquisition so that you can talk to customers in a way that's right for your brand, but that doesn't cannibalize in your retail businesses. And in No7 Beauty Company, we're really clear on each and every one of our touch points, whether that be retail, whether that be pure play partners, whether that be our own D2C businesses. We're really clear on the consumer demographic, but also what customers like in terms of promotions or experiences that they have on site. A targeting strategy that avoids overlap within within our own ecosystem is hugely important. One, to drive profitability, but also not to cannibalise on our existing footprints.
Brilliant, thanks, Leanne. And now just touching on the, I would say again, another perception within businesses, and again, we hear this day in, day out from other businesses around, you know, how to scale D2C when it's, you know, perceived to be this costly operation. So I'd love, and I'm sure our viewers would love to understand from you, how have you navigated these choppy waters and kind of overcome some of these misconceptions internally?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. It's certainly choppy waters, right? And, you know, we're seeing the cost of living crisis that is impacting our complete value chain in terms of the cost of fulfillment, the cost of staff, etc. So you certainly need to go into D2C with your eyes wide open in terms of making sure that it's going to be profitable for you in the context of a really tough market. For us, we navigate this in a couple of ways, but one of which is focusing on driving AOV and conversion on site. So making sure that we maximize every customer interaction on our site so that it becomes, one, what the customer wants, but two, how we can drive the maximum profitability from a business perspective. And alongside average order value, or AOV, average item value is really, really important, and a particular KPI that we focus on, because that's how you maximize cost efficiencies, particularly around the cost we pay for pick and pack costs in direct to consumer.
That is so interesting. Thank you, Leanne. So I think one of the points that you touched on earlier, which I'd love to just kind of dig into a little bit, is around data and insights. And, you know, I would particularly love to just understand, how are you leveraging your, you know, insights from D2C across your entire, you know, your entire channel and channel mix? You know, what are you doing, and what are the kind of key, I suppose, lessons learned that you could provide for us today?
Yeah. Okay. So data, you know, the gathering and leveraging of data is hugely important, but it's one of the fundamental priorities and opportunities that D2C businesses bring, because it enables you, of course, to leverage your own data rather than rely on retail data. So first party data for us is the foundation of understanding our consumers. It's based on obviously actual interactions with our brand, and therefore the data is really meaningful in a way that allows us to recognise, relate and respond to customers in more meaningful and valuable ways. On top of this, what we're really clear about in our business is enriching that data so that we start to turn that into zero party data. So really getting into the behaviours and the things that consumers want to see from us through asking them for their email addresses or asking them to complete a beauty profile, because understanding their needs, their wants, their desires enables us to develop really, really meaningful one-to-one relationships with our consumers.
So we know as your partners that you've been instrumental in setting up and scaling the No7 DTC offering globally. So we are very interested in your, you know, the Leanne Carden top tips of how other CPG brands or beauty brands can, you know, leverage your wealth of knowledge in launching, but also scaling D2C.
Okay, Leanne Carden's top tips. So I'm gonna, I mean, there's plenty, hopefully. We've learned a lot along the way. But my three big tips would probably be, first and foremost, is being really clear why you exist for a DTC. So mapping out your value proposition, your strategic proposition, why you're there for consumers, but why you're there for the brand, so that you drive incrementality to the brand and drive growth. That's the first thing. Second thing is brand, like just generally thinking about how your D2C can drive an incredible consumer experience online is massively important. Why would they come to D2C over other places where they can shop your brand? This is a really meaningful chance to develop a relationship with your consumers. So as far down as think about how your products operate on a digital shelf, think about a consumer stood in front of a store fixture. in terms of how engaged they feel looking at your brand, what's the information that they see as a result of shopping a product. And think about that in a digital way. So making sure that your digital shelf becomes incredibly powerful and knowledgeable so the customer can navigate your products. Customer data is probably the third thing that I'll talk about. Data is really important and it's the heart of everything we do. Storing that data, acquiring the data from our consumers and holding that data so that we are GDPR compliant. That data means an awful lot to us because it means we can personalize our interactions with our consumers each and every day.
Wow, thank you so much for those amazing top tips, Leanne. What a masterclass. Thank you again for joining our Reimagine series.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.